Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome in to Timeline T. I am your host, the Sam D, aka Sanders May Jr. Oh, it is Tuesday. It is Tuesday. There it is. A lot to get into. As you see, the topic bar is there. Those are just the three main topics. There's some other stuff that is coming down. There's some breaking news, of the Giants and Raiders variety that we will touch upon. But as you see, Lamar Jackson calls cap. Aaron Rodgers has a lot of demands and demands Ja Morant. Ja Morant is looking for an opportunity to rehab himself, allegedly. So all of that plus a lot of other news and tidbits and innuendos and tea straight from the timeline, and that's hence why the stream is called Timeline T. So pull up, get comfortable. The channel has had some tremendous growth over the last couple of weeks. So if you're new around these parts, this is what I do here. I go over the timeline and I look for the latest news, notes, innuendo, everything in regards to sports and everything of the like. I tap in and try to navigate what's really being said, what's really the real inside information, and kind of decipher, because there's a lot of stuff that just gets thrown out there as news. Then you have to decipher to kind of figure out, is this actually news? Is this spin? Is this PR? And that's what I try to do here on Timeline T. So as you see here, let me clean up this a little bit. Yep, let's get right into it. Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson calls cap. Lamar Jackson, who has been a big source of polarizing content and conversation on my channel over the last couple of weeks. And, you're either one of two camps. Either you're pro Lamar getting his money or you're pro management. It's a very polarizing thing. I was not aware that this is such a subject that is so polarizing and so stark from people from clearly different sides of the fence. And more and more, we just keep learning more and more alleged information about the contract negotiations between Lamar and the Ravens, and today is no different. So something came down the timeline. It is from a Baltimore Ravens community website, SB Nation type thing. So you're not really sure if this is true tea or just aggregation. I think in the main thing, this is just something that's just being aggregated off of information from Blue Check Boys. Blue Check Boys being Adam Schefter and Chris Mortensen. So let's jump into the screen here. According to Blue Check Boy Adam Schefter, Lamar Jackson turned down $200 million guaranteed deal back in September. So this goes on to discuss how, as we all know, there's been some ongoing negotiations this entire season that Lamar shut down because they weren't close on the deal. And at one point, it was thought to be $133 million, and you see that here. A deal that included at the time, he was offered $133 million due at signing. So on the Blue Check Boy Adam Schefter podcast, Jackson turned down a deal from the Baltimore Ravens with $200 million in guaranteed money. Now that sounds like a lot of money. $200 million. Now let's go ahead and parse what we see in this article and what's actually happening here and what Lamar Jackson responded to and calls cap. So Adam Schefter goes on to say, Chris Mortensen and I reported on this last September when Lamar Jackson was offered a deal that he turned down. We mentioned the deal about he was offered $133 million due at signing, $133 million guaranteed. Now that was the number that was put out there the most. Now, though, is the second part that generally has not been mentioned. The contract also had injury guarantees that brought the guarantees to $175 million, and it then had a springing guarantee that could have brought the value for the contract, the guaranteed money, to $200 million in guarantees. And yes, those were the actual numbers, and that was the situation. So those really were the guarantees for Lamar. Now, again, you have to understand that that's one point of view. You also have to understand that no one in Lamar Jackson's camp is speaking to the media. The only one that they've spoken to allegedly is your man's Friday Smith. So when you come looking at that in comparison to what we're seeing here, I don't really know if we want to co-sign this, to be quite honest with you. I'm not sure if this is what we're here to. I'm not sure if this is really what is available to navigate, because when you're talking about 133 million due at signing, right? That's fully guaranteed. Now there's injury guarantees that brought the contract. So this is essentially roster bonuses that are guarantees. Basically, you make the roster, you make the team, stay healthy, which is always the thing with Lamar, allegedly. And it could balloon up to 175. And then there's guarantees later that will push it to 200 million. So again, understand, this is the Ravens' point of view. And something that I've noticed here in the comments when it comes to Lamar is everyone's saying, well, how come Lamar just won't tell us what he's asking for? And I keep replying back, well, when's the last time any quarterback has publicly stated how much money they actually want? Why is it imperative in this case for Lamar to dispute or to refute what anyone is saying about what he may or may not want? It's a little weird to me how in this case, more so than any other, we need to hear from Lamar himself in regards to what he wants specifically monetarily, than opposed to other QBs who get to hide behind their agents and say what they want and have their agents go do their bidding. No one has a problem that Daniel Jones asked for $48 million a year and had to settle, use that loosely, settle for $40 million. So no one has a problem with that. No one had a problem with Dak leveraging the fact that Daniel Jones got 160 and being able to have his contract restructured so he could get more money now. No one is concerned about that. So I find it weird that now Lamar has to be the one that has to come out here and publicly, consistently say what money he was or wasn't offered. Because this is about controlling the narrative. There's a narrative around all of this Lamar Jackson stuff in regards to, well, what's true and what's not. There's a ton of reporting of what the Ravens have offered because it behooves the Ravens to put that out there so it can continue to paint this narrative about Lamar. But now we have to have Lamar respond to things like this. And so, much like a few weeks ago when Lamar was able to use the LeBron GIF, this time, let me make sure I have this right, he used another GIF, let me bring it up. He used another GIF to respond to this report. This is the GIF that Lamar decided to use this time. It's a lot of caps. If you're not hip, that's the reason. That's the reason why that GIF specifically is being used. So you see down here at the bottom, Schefter, Lamar Jackson turned down $200 million guaranteed deal back in September. Lamar responds, that's cap. Oh, by the way, for all those who think Lamar doesn't have any representation, and I'll move myself out the way here, and you can do this on your own live stream, courtesy of Ecamm Live. Link for a free trial is in the description. There's his business inquiries right there. So clearly there is some sort of representation, Lamar Jackson Enterprises. Okay, so there is a rep there. I don't think that's Lamar and his mom answering that email. Just saying. Anywho, put myself back there. So Lamar responds with that's cap, and he wasn't done there. He gave us more than the LeBron GIF that he gave us a couple of weeks ago. 133 for 3 years, fully guaranteed. But I need an agent. Again, calling into question this whole thing. And then he goes on, he wasn't done. He had time today. Lamar had time today. People throw, now that's a shit emoji, at the wall and hope it stick. And yeah, I think that's basically what we get here with the Ravens putting their narrative out here. The narrative for them is to let's keep painting him in the picture that we offered him all this money to show that he is being ridiculous in his contract demands. Even though, again, as you know, it's becoming a broken record here, but we keep talking about Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was not the first guaranteed deal. Kirk Cousins got a guaranteed deal before Lamar Jackson. He was able to do that. Now, when you look at it, and let's even jump ahead to here, Vikings QB, this is courtesy of Albert Breer, Vikings QB Kirk Cousins' restructure is simple. They're converting his $20 million roster bonus into a signing bonus and adding 2 void years to the 2 already on the deal. That'll free up $16 million in cap space. No change is how it's paid out to Cousins. So this man, who was the first to get guaranteed, fully guaranteed money as a quarterback, because everyone in the comments has been telling me, well, you do this deal, you're hindering your ability to sign free agents, you're giving up too much of your cap space to one player, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, this is the NFL. They keep moving this money around. They always restructuring. It doesn't matter. Like in the notion of, well, the NFL has a hard cap. NHL has a hard cap as well. And those contracts are fully guaranteed. And there's dudes in the NHL that are making hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, so if the NHL can figure it out, which is the fourth most popular sport in this country, they don't even bring in the same revenue, nowhere near the NFL. But they can figure out a way to have a hard cap and still pay their employees fully guaranteed money. But somehow, the sport that prints money, billions, probably soon to be trillions in value, can't figure out a way, the owners can't trust themselves to have to pay fully guaranteed contracts to their employees. Make it make sense. I know that there's a lot of people out here that are pro-management. And while I vehemently disagree with just being so biased towards management, I understand that it's mostly based out of fandom. And it's mostly based out of repeating and regurgitating takes that you see from others online. But what it really comes down to is that these owners can't afford it. These teams can afford to pay Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, fully guaranteed money, and they can move the money around as they see fit going forward. It's this amazing concept of restructuring. It's been done ad nauseum throughout the NFL. But for some reason, when people come to think of Lamar's money, it's like, oh my God, how could you dare give him this kind of money? You're going to, sacrifice all your cap space. It's a hard cap. The Vikings are doing it with Cousins. His money's fully guaranteed. Whether it's a signing bonus, whether it's base pay, you can maneuver the money around. They have capologists for a reason. That's the finance department's job. That's the accounting department's job. Move that money around. Make it work. If the Vikings feel that invested in Kirk Cousins that even still right now, heading into the 2023-2024 season, they still feel Kirk Cousins is worth that guaranteed money, and they're just going to move the money around to make it work for them to be able to sign players, why can't the Ravens do the same? Sign Lamar to the money that he covets, and then move the money around as you see fit. You think Lamar would care if they backloaded that contract? You think Deshaun Watson cared that he only got $1 million or one? It was like a backloaded contract. We only made like $1 million last year. And then all the rest of the money is fully guaranteed over there on the back half. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's 230. However we get there, the end result is I walk away with 230. So why shouldn't Lamar say, no matter how you structure it, I just want my bread? There's a lot of talk about Lamar in his injury proneness. He's missed 5 games the last 2 seasons. And while that is true, there's no disputing that. There's no refuting that, right? But you also have to take into account, and I talked about this here on the stream, is that the players themselves, the Ravens players themselves, voted their training staff to be an F-. And the Ravens had to fire the person in charge. And multiple players came out and said, yeah, they should have gotten rid of that guy years ago. Matthew Judon was one of those guys. Came out and said, I told the team to get rid of that guy. Players were talking about how they were misdiagnosed, how they were forced to come back and hurt themselves even further. That's a real thing. And no one wants to talk about it. But Lamar missed 5 games the last 2 seasons, always injury prone. When there's other players that are lining up saying, hey, there's a problem with your strength in training people. There's a problem there. An F minus? F minus. Like, Lamar's injury prone. Ridiculous. So that is what we have as of right now. Kirk Cousins is going to restructure his fully guaranteed contract, which is so incredible, so impossible, but no one seems to care. And there was even rumors that the Browns are trying to figure out in restructuring Deshaun Watson's contract. So, oh, lordy, they're finding a way to make that 230 work, whether it's deferring it even more, structuring bonuses, staggering the base pay, whatever it is. It doesn't matter to Deshaun. The bread is the bread. The money is the money. It's getting paid out. So how come the Ravens and all these other teams, the Falcons are running around here? Look, we'll get there. The Falcons, the Falcons and the Raiders really showed themselves to be poverty franchises in free agency in terms of their quarterback moves. Poverty franchises. But looking ahead, clearly there's going to be some sort of movement here, whether it's Lamar having to just go back and accept the $32.4 million, or whether it's someone jumping out the window and offering him an offer sheet and seeing what happens with the Ravens if they want to match it. There's collusion on multiple levels here, allegedly. There's collusions that other teams feel as though there's no reason to sign Lamar to an offer sheet because whatever offer sheet they sign him to, the Ravens are going to match it no matter what. They basically are just calling Lamar's bluff and daring him to go get a contract that's, beneficial to what he wants. And then they'll match it because they don't want to overpay like how the consensus views the Browns overpaying for Deshaun Watson, where if you look ahead 3, 4, 5 years from now, is that Deshaun Watson contract going to be really the overpaying? Is it going to be viewed in the same lens of overpaying? Do you know all these 4 quarterbacks that are soon to be drafted this upcoming year? In 4 to 5 years, they're going to be up in this same type of situation. What's Bryce Young and CJ Stroud going to command? What if Anthony Richardson really comes out and is the new incarnation of Cam Newton and Justin Fields? What's that guarantee going to look like? 300 might be the minimum because the revenue is going to keep going up. And if the NFLPA can grow a pair, you might actually be able to get some change and get fully guaranteed contracts in here. But ultimately, what it comes down to is that for all the people that are constantly saying, paying Lamar, let me go back to the Lamar tweet. It's too damn good. For all the people saying that Lamar should not ask for fully guaranteed money, he is doing a dishindrance to not only himself, but to the Ravens. As we just showed with the Kirk Cousins tweet, the money could be moved around. It could always be moved around. The fact that the NFL has a hard cap means nothing because the NHL has a hard cap and they're still able to pay all their players fully guaranteed money. It's just making up stuff at this point. If you just don't think he's good, I'd rather someone just say, I don't think he's that good. Okay, I disagree with you, but instead of giving me all of these reasons that could be countered as to why the Ravens shouldn't pay Lamar Jackson, you want to tell me he was a one-year wonder? I had one person, he's a one-year wonder. Cool story. Even though we had stats that showed how good he was last year up until he got hurt. Don't care about that. He's a one-year wonder. One-year wonder, he was an MVP of the whole league. That's a hell of a fluke. I don't know how many one-year wonders there are as an MVP. You want to tell me one-year wonder as Rookie of the Year? One-year wonder as Comeback Player of the Year? Any of those other types of trumped-up awards? Sure. But a flash in the pan, a one-year wonder as an MVP? No. Sorry. I refuse. I refuse. So anyway, again, for those who don't think Lamar has representation, move myself out the way, thanks to Ecamm Live. There it is right there. Business inquiries. Lamar Jackson Enterprises. I'm pretty sure his mom is not replying to those emails. So someone's answering that. So he does have representation beyond the traditional concept of an agent. Even though there were plenty of players walking around here with no representation, Roquan Smith on the Ravens being one of them. There were players running around getting contracts dripped in crypto during quarantine of the pandemic. No one had a problem with that then, but okay. Lamar wants fully guaranteed money in straight cold hard cash. Now it's World War III. Gotcha. All right. All for that. So we go from one QB who has financial demands to another QB who might have financial demands and personnel demands. Let's go ahead and bring it in. Blue check girl Diana Rossini, Four Letter Network, says Aaron Rodgers has provided the New York Jets with a wish list of free agents he would like them to target and acquire per sources. It includes Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, Mercedes Lewis, the ageless one, and, wait for it, Odell Beckham Jr. OBJ coming back to MetLife as a Jet. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets is the worst kept secret and is somehow keeping us in suspense for Lord knows how much longer. But all signs are pointing towards something that, we've been speculating for weeks, it seems, that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Jet. He's going to walk away from 58 M's from Green Bay and come to New York. Now they're going to have to restructure that money too. Oh my God, another QB that's making a lot of money that the team's going to have to restructure, and somehow, some way, they are finding a way to do it. Okay. So Aaron Rodgers is going to walk away from the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field and walk into a ready-made team, a team that a lot of us think, with the youth that they have, the high top-tier elite talent that Joe Douglas has acquired over the last few years for the Jets, when you're looking at bringing in Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard, Mercedes Lewis, like out of these four names, like Odell's the only name where I'm like, okay, that could be something. That could be something, because when you look at the Jets receivers outside of Wilson, I mean, there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of, draft picks there in terms of high draft status picks and players that are coulda, shoulda, wouldas. But if you're telling me I got Wilson and Odell, oh, okay. And I'm bringing in Aaron Rodgers, oh, okay. But the fact that, Alan Lazard is a nice piece. He's a real good run blocker as a wide receiver. Randall Cobb, I mean, that's just, A-Rod's buddy. And Mercedes Lewis, the ageless ones. Good Lord. I don't know what you would do there with, I mean, he's a red zone weapon. He was born to be a red zone weapon. So I think it's interesting here that Aaron Rodgers is coming with this type of list of demands. Is this something where the Jets are going to live to regret this? Because you've opened the door. It's a done deal. The only way you could trick this off, apparently, is if you don't make any of these moves happen. I would think, I mean, they're already, according to Blue Check Boy Schefter, they're working on signing former Packers. They're working on Lazard already, right? So they're working on Lazard already. But when it comes to Randall Cobb, Mercedes Lewis, and Odell, like, all right, well, it looks like they're going to get Lazard. So we'll take him off the board. He's in the fold. If you're the Jets, you really have to get Randall Cobb. And if you're going to go Randall Cobb, at whom's expense are you going to cut or jettison? You can only have so many wide receivers. This is 3 receivers and a tight end. You want, like Aaron Rodgers is saying, I would like you to acquire them. It's not just saying target and acquire. Target and acquire. I mean, if I'm the Jets, I tell them, yeah, we talked to Randall Cobb. We couldn't make it work, but, we'll holler at Odell because, I mean, that's a move. The Odell thing is a move. But I don't know why, if you are the Jets, you feel like you have to get all 4 of these guys to go get Aaron Rodgers. They're already going to pay you. They're already giving you a roster that is made to win. Something you've been, whether subliminally or indirectly or maybe even directly years ago, you've been begging the Packers to do. The Jets have enough weapons on offense and defense to where all they need is you. They're a QB away. But are they a QB, Allen Lazard, Mercedes Lewis, Randall Cobb, and OBJ away? That might be where you're asking a little bit too much. Now, again, this is player empowerment, or is it player entitlement? Why is Aaron Rodgers not being taken to task? Lamar's just asking for money. Aaron Rodgers is trying to be an executive. Like Tom Brady, when he got this off, he brought in Antonio Brown, got Gronk to come out of retirement, and convinced Leonard Fournette to come pull up. All three of those guys still had a lot left in terms of what they could bring as actual football players. So I can understand Tampa Bay bending to the will of Tom Brady because those three players contributed majorly. Those three players contributed in a major way towards their success. You want me to bring in Randall Cobb, Mercedes Lewis, Allen Lazard? You can fool yourself into thinking that's a sneaky move. And Odell, high risk, high reward. I don't think that much of a high risk, but on paper, high risk, high reward. But you want me to go bring in Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis? That's just bringing a man's in them. I'll hire them as coaches. You want them to be part of your entourage, like that's fine. But to take up actual roster spots, I don't know if I'm willing to do that. I don't know if I'm willing to give up 2 spots on my 53 for Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis. At this juncture, I don't know how I could do that. I don't know how I could do that. Like, seriously, like, is there anyone who feels that Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis actually can contribute something football-wise, not just make Aaron happy? We know that's really what it is. Bring my guys along with me because he's probably under the impression if I go here, we are winning a chip. So if that's the case, let me bring my boys with me and we could all win a chip. Let's all get one last ring and then we could ride off together in the sunset, right? But let me look up Randall Cobb. Okay, let's go back to the screen here. Randall Cobb. I mean, dog. I mean, is this really what you want me to give up a spot on my 53 for someone with 50 targets last year, 1 touchdown? Like, I mean, I just don't see it. I understand why it's a power play. All of this is a power play. That's why I'm saying, like, this is player empowerment. Or, as I was asking on my podcast, the DCMD podcast a couple of episodes ago, is this player entitlement? Which is it? There's a difference between empowerment and entitlement. At this stage in his career, Aaron Rodgers is using entitlement. I am entitled to go to a contender. I am entitled to be paid handsomely. I am entitled to force a team to sign all my boys no matter where I go. That's entitlement. Now, there are some that will position it and say that's empowerment, that teams are acquiescing this and giving them that power, a la the NBA. I'm under the impression that this is entitlement. You want me to give up a spot on my 53 for Randall Cobb? That's entitlement. You know, let's go ahead and look up Mercedes. Mercedes Lewis. I mean, dog, like this guy, all these games as a tight end, and he was never a burner to begin with. He's just a humongous target. 6 receptions the entire year, 17 games. He started 17 games, 6 receptions. I'm supposed to give up a spot on my 53 for that? I don't know, man. Like, that's asking a lot. Odell, I understand that. That, to me, I actually like that. I actually think Odell has a lot left, and I think he can fit in that system where he's not being asked to be the guy anymore. I think he played well with the Rams, you know, playing off of Cooper Kupp, even though I still think he was a more dangerous weapon at that time. But, you know, I still think he has enough left to be a weapon in this offense to where him and Rodgers can really cook something up. Those two together could be lethal. But you want me to give up a spot on my 53 man to a guy who caught 6 passes in 17 games last year and your man's in them who also didn't fare that much better. Got 50 targets the whole year. and didn't even play the whole year. We love talking about guys not playing the whole year in terms of Lamar, but Randall Cobb only played 13 games, and yet Aaron Rodgers is out here manipulating or, player empowerment, or more likely player entitlement, trying to get the Jets to go ahead and sign his man's Randall Cobb just to get his own services. And this is where, if we really take a look at this, what Aaron Rodgers are you getting? And again, we understand he was coming off 2 MVP seasons. So, obviously there's a lot there in theory, on paper. But with everything else that comes with it, he went on with his man's McAfee today and said, there's nothing to announce yet. Because in theory, he's waiting for all his mans to pull up. He's waiting for all this to happen. He's waiting for all of this to happen. And it's interesting how the narratives work. Aaron Rodgers is able to not only get paid $58 million and now bring that $58 million that the Packers were committing to him and bring it to New York allegedly, and have that deal magically restructured to where he's still going to get his money, but the Jets are going to move it around, backload it, defer it, whatever, convert this to a bonus, whatever. Like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to Lamar, there's capologists whose main job is to figure out how to make this money work. There is a whole job, a whole staff, a whole department geared towards, here's the contract we're going to sign this player to, make it make sense for us financially in the short term and the long term. That's their job. So the fact that the Jets, who have been trimming salary all last week into this week, cutting players, restructuring deals to open up the cap space to be able to absorb the contract of Aaron Rodgers, that's fine. Go all in. That Super Bowl was a long time ago. But I get it. I understand. Back-to-back MVPs no more than 2-3 years ago. I understand. But this part here, not only do I have to pay you and cut players to bring you in, to get the salary enough to bring you in, now I have to potentially cut people on my 53-man. I got to bring in Randall Cobb. I got to bring in Mercedes Lewis, who, again, I just showed it. He played every single game and started every single game and got 6 catches, 6 receptions in 17 games. I got to give up a spot on my 53-man for that. Not only do I got to cut all these players to make the salary work and then still give up compensation to the Packers, now I got to go get Randall Cobb, who doesn't have anything left, Allen Lazard, who you can argue can be a third or fourth receiver, Mercedes Lewis, who had 6 catches in 17 games, and Odell, which is a high-risk, high-reward type move. So I got to do all of this and trim the fat on all these contracts to make it work and give up compensation for the Packers. I got to do all of this for what, maybe a 2-year window? This is not what Tom Brady did. There's a lot of people that are comparing this to what Tom Brady was able to do in Tampa. This is not that. Tom Brady had players ready-made. Antonio Brown was still him. The nonsense off the field is whatever. He was still him when they brought in AB. Gronk was Gronk. I don't know if Gronk is still Gronk, but back then Gronk was still Gronk. He was still top tier, still unguardable, still a monster on 3rd and long. And then he convinced Leonard Fournette to come and pull up as a free agent. And he was able to move the chains and give him exactly what he needed as a running back to grind out the clock. Those were 3 players that were still competent and at a high enough level to justify, all right, Tom, you think these are the guys? Cool. You have Aaron Rodgers really trying to convince Joe Douglas that he needs Mercedes Lewis in 2023? How'd that conversation go? Randall Cobb is still a thing in 2023? How does that conversation go? Lazard, you can get that off. You can talk about his blocking in the run game, so on and so forth. You can, especially that the Jets are allegedly going to more of a zone run blocking scheme. Allen Lazard is tailor-made for that. He's one of the better blocking receivers in the league, right? So you can get that off from a scheme perspective in terms of why he's advocating for Allen Lazard. And Odell is Odell, playmaker. But Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis, nah, dog, nah. You are not convincing me that's what's necessary to bring Aaron Rodgers. That's not going to seal the deal. If it ain't the 58 M's, if it ain't the players that are already here on offense and defense, if it ain't a potential AFC East that is, I'm not going to say it's wide open, but you can't really sit here and say the Bills are still the class of that division. The Patriots are I think it's a wrap for them, right? So it's a three teams in that division who all feel they have a chance. The Dolphins are out here making moves, going to go get Jalen Ramsey. You know, they go get Chubb in season. Now they go get Jalen Ramsey. They're trying to figure it out. They extend Tua for another year. They bring back Raheem Mostert. Like they're trying to make it happen. Your man Cheetah is out here beating a bunch of plumbers in the 60-meter. It's all happening. The Dolphins are going for it. And the Bills, with Josh Allen coming off a bum elbow, they had to restructure Von Miller's contract. They've lost some players in free agency. The AFC East potentially is open. It's open if the Jets want it and if Aaron Rodgers wants it. But if he only wants it, if all of his friends in them can join him, I want to see the media take him to task. Keep that same energy. Because so far, I'm not feeling a lot of the same energy towards Aaron Rodgers. He's skating. He's getting paid 58 to 60 million already. All the talk of how this is just a game, this is a children's game, and players are greedy. I haven't heard not one person with a blue check jump out here and say this is egregious of Aaron Rodgers. This is greedy. All the same tropes I'm hearing about other quarterbacks in their contract demands. I'm not hearing that same type of energy when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, because not only is Aaron Rodgers saying, I'm going to get my money regardless. I'm getting my 58 M's, right? So now you need to figure out, restructure whatever deals, cut whoever, backload whatever contracts to make it work. I'm coming with my 58 M's. That's a non-starter. Now, go give the Packers whatever compensation they want. Now, not only do you have to do all of that, but now I want you to go bring a tight end in that only caught 6 passes in 17 games and go bring in one of my best friends who is a mid receiver, if mid is generous at this point in his career. Go bring in a wide receiver who's more known for his blocking than his catching. And then go bring in Odell, who's coming off a couple of leg surgeries. And then I still may decide to stay in Green Bay. If you don't do all that, I can hold all of that over your head and still just go back and collect that 58 M's in Green Bay. Because they ain't like Green Bay's not going to accept him back. Mark Murphy's already said, if the deal doesn't work out, then, we'll figure it out. If the deal doesn't work out like we want it to, we spoke about this on Friday's live stream. If the deal doesn't work out like they want it to, we'll work with Aaron to figure it out. This is what's happening here. Where is the energy? I'm having a hard time understanding how come Aaron Rodgers is able to demand so much from a team that he has no allegiance to, in the New York Jets, and they're just bending over backwards to make it happen. But other quarterbacks are asking just to pay me. I ain't even asking you to bring in Odell, even though Odell would be the best receiver I've ever had if I'm Lamar. I'm not even asking you to do all that. I'm just saying, pay me. If you want me to run around here with no help, at least pay me to do so. But Aaron Rodgers wants to get paid well, go to a top-tier team with young elite talent, and bring in all my old head friends and Odell. I would love for someone to take him to task, but we know how it is, and we know that that's not going to happen. So we'll come off that, and let's see if there's any other breaking information here just while we're in the NFL mode. Thanks to those who are checking it out. If you haven't hit that like button, just tap that. Helps that algorithm keep doing what it's supposed to do. And I can move on to NBA, but let me just make sure that there's no NFL stuff that's coming down the timeline. And feel free, if you hear anything or see anything, yes, I know about the Darren Waller trade from the Raiders to the Giants. What's up with the Raiders? Are they waving a white flag? And if you're Devontae Adams, how do you feel right now? Like, I guess that's still Aaron Rodgers, because there was rumors that, he was begging him to come to the Raiders. If you are Devontae Adams, you had Derek Carr, and at least you went to a team that paid you a lot of money, for sure, but then also had up-and-coming talent. Now you have, your quarterback is gone. They bring in Jimmy G, which is completely a stopgap measure. And they put Josh Jacobs on the franchise tag. He doesn't seem happy. And now they're trading Darren Waller. And if you're saying, well, Darren Waller's been injury prone, he's battled some things in his past, some demons, and he's apparently have overcome a lot of that. So salute to him. But, Hunter, what was it? No, they got Hunter Renfrow, Foster Moreau. He's a free agent as well. He might not be back. So who's going to be tight end for these Raiders? Devontae Adams about to be a one-man gang. Like, I don't look. I understand the whole. We've spoken about on this live stream that the Raiders are a family-run business and they don't have it. That's why when they were jumping out the window, they jumped out the window first and said, we're not in on Lamar. Then once some people aired them out, like, no, you don't got the money to, like, don't gas your fan base up. Like, don't lie to your fan base. You can't afford Lamar. You don't have, the type of money he's going to allegedly ask for in escrow. You can't even do it. So don't even lie to your fan base. And then they eventually pulled a 180 and was like, yeah, we're not in on Lamar. Like, yeah, no shit. No shit, you're not in on Lamar. You can't afford it. But now, what is the plan there in Vegas? Devontae Adams and who else? Now, if Rodgers pulled that move, forget Allen Lazard, forget Randall Cobb, even forget OBJ. Go give me Devontae and bring him. Now that to me is like, oh, okay. Now again, I don't think the Jets had that type of compensation to be able to do it from a draft perspective. But just in the sense of if that was the demand, I'm not mad at that. Okay, so apparently the Lazard deal is official. Allen Lazard agrees to a 4-year, $44 million deal with the Jets. That is pretty interesting. So who leaves if you're the Jets? Clearly they're trying to make this happen. Clearly they are trying to go all in to make this work for Aaron Rodgers. Who leaves? If you're the Jets, are you really going to get rid of Elijah Moore? Is that really where we're going at this point? Because you're bringing in Lazard. He wants Randall Cobb and OBJ. That's 3 receivers. Who are you giving up that's currently on this roster if you're the Jets? How bad do you want Aaron Rodgers? What are you willing to give up? As if the compensation to the Packers isn't enough, as if cutting all the players to make the money work wasn't enough. Now you have to go and bring in all of his boys. How much is enough? Joe Douglas did all this to get this young top-tier talent, and now he's going to have to jettison some of it just to get Aaron Rodgers? I don't understand. Let's go to the comments. Appreciate you, Tanya. Thank you for tapping in. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the Jets do here. I don't know why this is becoming a thing where I understand bending over backwards for a former, multiple-time MVP. What he won 4 MVPs or whatever. Like, I understand all of that. One-time Super Bowl champ. I get it. But you've put yourself in a position to have all these young players on rookie contracts, and you're going to jettison that for Aaron Rodgers and his mans? Again, OBJ, I could see that. Allen Lazard, I think that's a mid-move. But having to go potentially bring on Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis, on top of that, to me, that's where I draw the line. To me, that's where I'm like, all right, man, like either you want to be here or not. Do you want to be here or not? Because at some point, enough has to be enough. If I'm the Jets and I have to get rid of Elijah Moore, who you could make a case for is one of those talented receivers that could benefit from playing with Aaron Rodgers. We've seen Aaron Rodgers make a lot of young receivers, like we saw last year with all the young talented receivers at the end of the year, how they were finally starting to cook with him. The Jets already have a bunch of those already. You're going to cut or trade or probably just demote some of those guys on the depth chart to bring in Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Mercedes Lewis. It couldn't be me. I understand I understand it's a 2-year window. It's a 2-year window where you have to where he's still, you would assume, be at the apex of his powers to be able to coincide with all these young, talented players on both sides of the ball to be able to capitalize off of that. I get it. So it's a very small window here to make this work. But if I have to pay you your 58 M's, I have to then give up draft compensation to the Packers. I have to trade, cut, restructure deals just to bring in your salary alone. Now I have to create more cap space to bring in all your guys. But, you know, Lamar should not get what he wants. It's laughable at times. Like it truly is. All right, let me just go down the timeline real quick just to see if there's anything else that we have here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything new necessarily in regards to, certainly nothing new. Well, there's certainly a lot of talk about this Raiders thing. Darren Waller being traded to the Jets. And let's look at this from the Jets, from the Giants perspective real quickly. They traded Kadarius Toney for what, a 3rd-round pick? And in essence, they used that 3rd-round pick to go get Darren Waller. So you essentially traded Kadarius Toney for Darren Waller. Now that sounds like a win on paper, right? Sounds like a win. And certainly I think Waller is an upgrade. But here's the thing. Waller, one, also injury prone. There goes that word. I mean, can't we just say all NFL players are injury prone? Like, I think just playing that sport alone just makes you that every single player on the 53-man roster is injury prone. They are all prone to injury, some more than others, but there is not one person. Even kickers and punters get hurt. Like, there is not, long snappers get hurt. Every single player on the 53-man is injury prone. But anyway, so Waller, matter of fact, let's go ahead and pull him up. Let's pull up Waller. You know, as someone that had him in fantasy last year, he drove me nuts. It was, I thought I hit a home run drafting him last year, and not even that high in the draft, but cost me a chip. But anyway, he only played 9 games. He hasn't played a full season since 2019. Darren Waller has not played a full season since 2019. I mean, in 2021, even in 11 games, those numbers are still better than most tight ends in the league, right? Last year was the year where you really started to have questions as opposed to, well, how good can he be? What is he truly? Is he more of a receiver than a tight end? Because it certainly looked like at times last year, and just, you know, keeping an eye on him because I had him in fantasy, it just really didn't feel like he contributes a lot outside of. I figure with him and Devontae Adams, I'm like, oh, this should be murder. This should be light work for Derek Carr. But whether it was the offense, whether it was Derek Carr, whether it was Josh McDaniels, I don't know. It just didn't really seem to gel where Waller and Adams both went off at the same time. So is that more about Waller? Is that more about Derek Carr or Josh McDaniels? I don't know. But it's certainly a risk. This is not a slam dunk move. He is a name, so it's a headline grabber. But Darren Waller heading into next season, I don't know if that's a guarantee that it's a humongous upgrade for the New York Giants. So we'll look at that. think there was something else I saw on the Jets. Let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, here we go. Okay, what I'm hearing on Aaron Rodgers, it's a strong feeling still that he will be a Jet. It is not done yet. Still working through some things, nothing finalized, and Green Bay still needs official word from Rodgers. Some Jets players have been frustrated about the process dragging out. Well, wouldn't you know it? What a shock that, Jets players, giving sauces out here burning cheese heads, thinking, all right, it's only a matter of a couple of days. And nah, that cheesehead just sitting in the grill all charred up and still no Aaron Rodgers. And again, they can do all of this and Aaron Rodgers can still go run it back in Green Bay. That's the funniest thing about this, is that as much as there's been so many assumptions of done deal, only a matter of time, only a matter of hours, the Jets can move. They can move everything, which they're in the midst of doing in terms of moving money around, moving contracts around, moving players around. They can go out there and go sign Alan Lazard. They already have Nathaniel Hackett. They could go out here and go get Mercedes Lewis and Randall Cobb. They could even go out there and go get Odell. And Aaron Rodgers could still say, I just want to make sure my guys were in a better situation than I am. I'm going to go ahead and stay in Green Bay and just collect this 58 M's. I'm just go ahead and just ride this out. He could even retire. There's been all types. He literally is, and that's what to me is player entitlement. It's player entitlement because he is holding the Jets hostage. I mentioned it last week here on this stream. He's holding the Jets hostage. This is a stick up for Aaron Rodgers. He is sticking up Woody Johnson and the entire New York Jets organization. Come fly out to see me. Come do all this. Come bring in all my boys. Come do all of this. No one says anything about how egregious this is for someone one of his caliber, for one of his stature, for one of his standing in the league and just historically. No one's saying anything. At least Tom Brady was bringing in dudes that still had a lot left to give. AB was still top tier when he brought him in. Gronk was still top tier when he brought him in. Fournette was still more than respectable when he brought him in. Mercedes Lewis? Randall Cobb? Yeah, if I was a Jet, I would feel frustrated too. And I'm not even talking about Zach Wilson. I could care less about Zach Wilson. I care less about his feelings. But in regards to if I'm the players that might get cut, if I'm Elijah Moore, I want to know what the hell's going on. You want to bring in 3 receivers with you? We got receivers already. You don't see the talent we have here? We just need to be able to get Zach Wilson. Mike White took himself out and moved on. We just need a better QB. But you want to bring yourself and all your receivers with you? You got help already here. We just need you to be you. Ayahuasca be damned. But so I would also feel frustrated if I was a Jets receiver. I think some Jets players, I think that really should say some Jets receivers have been frustrated about the process dragging out. Because if you're any other offensive player, what do you care? I mean, I guess if you're Zach Wilson, but who cares about that? Who else would really care? You think all them running backs they got care? No. Who else would care? I mean, I guess who they have at they have CJ Uzuma. Maybe CJ Uzuma cares because he might be losing his job to Mercedes Lewis. But outside of that, why else? Who else would care? Tyler Conklin? I think he left, right? So I mean, who else would really care? Denzel Mims, is Denzel Mims concerned? He probably should be. If we're really taking a look at who's on this Jets, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, we know he ain't going nowhere. Garrett Wilson is him. Corey Davis? Who do you have to get rid of? If you're a Jet fan and you're trying to bring in Aaron Rodgers and he wants to bring in 3 new receivers, okay, which 3 are you getting rid of? Denzel Mims? Denzel Mims, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore? Is it that easy to just get rid of those 3? Are you sure you're upgrading? If it's at the cost of bringing in Aaron Rodgers, but to bring in Aaron Rodgers, you have to accept less caliber receivers than what you see here on this screen. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? To me, these are real conversations. Because if I have to lose Elijah Moore, not saying he's a game breaker. Again, let's be clear. The main star is Garrett Wilson. He ain't going nowhere. So now it's, okay, can Aaron Rodgers make Elijah Woodson into something? Can Corey Davis become something with Aaron Rodgers? Can Denzel Mims become something with Aaron Rodgers? We know Jeff Smith is gone. Baxter Berrios is gone. James Robinson is gone. There's a lot of guys gone. Mike White gone. So there's a lot of people gone already. So who are these players that are frustrated with the process dragging? Maybe Tyler Conklin. Maybe CJ Uzuma. We know it's not Garrett Wilson, but if I'm Elijah Moore, I'm worried. Because Odell comes in, Odell's opposite Garrett Wilson. There's your X and Y right there. Now, Elijah Moore as a slot, I'm not mad at that. But then if you just gave 44 M's to Allen Lazard, now does that make Allen Lazard the slot? Now I'm Elijah Moore. I went from a number 2 receiver to now a 4th receiver. And then with Randall Cobb got to get some snaps. So if I'm Elijah Moore, am I even getting on the field? I'm only playing during Hail Marys, lateral drills, practice squad, scout team. So I think if this happens, you have to look at Elijah Moore and think, oh, he might be the odd man out. Elijah Moore, with all this Jet stuff, might be the odd man out. Let's see if there's anything else we can unearth here real quick. Because, I mean, there's certainly a lot of Jets fans that have been out there like, yo, whatever he wants, go get him. Because, you know, if you want to focus on what Lazard is, if you really want to break down the skill set of Allen Lazard, he's probably, in terms of is he an upgrade over Corey Davis? Yes. Is he an upgrade over Elijah Moore? That part, I don't know. I think Allen Lazard is probably better, for sure better at certain things than Corey Davis. I think Elijah Moore, that's where it gets a little dicey. He's an upgrade over Corey Davis. I don't know if I'm saying he's an upgrade over Elijah Moore. But if you do move Elijah Moore, replacing him with Odell is pretty solid. So I don't know. This is a very interesting thing to try to figure out because half of the money for Allen Lazard is guaranteed. So that's 22 M's guaranteed to Aaron Rodgers' mans. So that's a sizable commitment for Allen Lazard, who I'm not sure if he would have gotten that type of deal anywhere else, to be quite honest with you. So if you're just gonna give him whatever he wants, then cool. But understand that's still an extremely small window to get it done in. Don't see anything else per se. I mean, we can roast the Falcons. Who wants to roast the Falcons? I'll get in Taylor Heineke. Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke are what they're upgrading with. Roasting session for your Falcons? Arthur Blank running around here scared. Didn't want to commit or got outbid on Deshaun Watson, nasty man Deshaun Watson's services last offseason, got outbid. Now we have him having, after 4 games of Desmond Ridder, only 4 games of Desmond Ridder, now we have him out here jumping out there and saying he's the starter, and to back him up, they're going to get Tyler Heineke. And they're paying Taylor Heineke good money. He's getting good backup QB money. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes because I think they should have been all in on Lamar, but that's another stream for another day. But as of right now, Arthur Blank, if he thinks Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke are serviceable options for what they have in terms of a burgeoning stars in Drake London and Kyle Pitts, they gonna learn the hard way. That division was up for grabs. But with them not, to me, making a big upgrade at the quarterback position, I don't see them being in the mix here. I could be wrong. Maybe the talent, maybe having Drake London and Kyle Pitts, it don't matter who your quarterback is. That could be possible. But for the Atlanta Falcons, being able to have a chance to go out there and, if they were willing to do it just 12 months ago, I don't know what's changed. 4 games of Desmond Ridder is not a viable enough excuse to me to not want to go out there and make a bigger upgrade at the QB position. But it's Arthur Blank and the Falcons, so who knows? Let's see what else we got here. Who wants Austin Eckler? Austin Eckler's trying to cash out. It's probably going to be his last chance at getting legitimate running back money. Who is willing to pay Austin Eckler? There's a lot of running backs available. Miles Sanders still available. Now you add Austin Eckler, who's out here via trade. If your team needs a running back, there's a lot of things that you can scoop for the low. I haven't heard not one rumor about Miles Sanders. Not one. And he's a guy where when he was used, was productive. I think the key there is when he was used. Wasn't always used in Philadelphia. But when he was, and Jason Kelce comes back, so that offensive line is still, maybe he should spin the block. He's probably waiting to see if Philly wants to spin the block. But Austin Eckler, is he someone that is there a team that's a running back away? Hey, maybe the Chiefs should entertain that. There was some reports out there that every receiver is hitting up Mahomes like, yo, I'm trying to pull up. A lot of receivers pulling up here asking Mahomes, yo, you got room for me? Because, there's no guarantee Juju's coming back. Who wants to replace Juju? I mean, there's a lot of receivers. Allen Robinson, he allegedly could be on the move from the Rams. There's a lot of receivers that are still available. That's the thing. There was a lot of big moves early in free agency, but a lot of them were linebackers, interior linemen, secondary play, things of that nature. Now you're getting to the offensive side of the ball, where, here's a report. Don't know how accurate it is, but we'll see. Per Josina Anderson, Jets will not be trading Elijah Moore. Okay, well now who? Okay, well now let's see. How does this work now? If we're to believe that. So Wilson, Moore, Barrios is gone already. So now it's Corey Davis. Corey Davis now looks to be expendable. So if you're keeping Elijah Moore, and you're definitely for sure not getting rid of Garrett Wilson, now that appears to be what it is. So now we're all looking at Corey Davis. Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, OBJ. So then that means Corey Davis, I'm good, love, enjoy. Denzel Mims, I'm good, love, enjoy. Got to get them up out of there because Jeff Smith's already gone. Barrios is already gone. So now you're like, okay, so now Corey Davis. So now it comes down to you can't really compare Elijah Moore to Alan Lazard because I think that was more of I would go with Elijah Moore. But I think if you're talking about Alan Lazard or Corey Davis, I think that's an upgrade. But that Randall Cobb, if I'm Denzel Mims, I would feel away. Let's see. What else can we figure out here? What else can we navigate here? Because that is a really interesting piece of information I have there. And salute to Josina Anderson. She's been doing her thing independently for a very long time now. So I'm glad she's in the mix there. Michael Thomas off the board. He goes back. Yeah, that might be it as of right now. There was no Rodgers update on Pat McAfee's show, which was weird because why else are you having Aaron Rodgers on? But okay. So we will move on from Aaron Rodgers. That was a lot there, a lot of NFL stuff. If you see anything or hear anything while we're still here on this stream, go ahead and drop that in the comments. That's how we learned about the Bears trading the first pick on Friday. That was live here on the stream. That happened in real time where the homie Greg Launderd of ESPN Radio hit up the comments and said, hey, the Bears made a deal. And it was boom. They had swapped the first round pick with the Panthers. So if there's any breaking news, we will definitely talk about it here. I will move on to the NBA. Just a couple of quick notes on that before we wrap up. John Morant. I talked about John Morant a lot over the last week or so, and it's by no fault than his own. But there's been more reporting being done, and it's something that I've been insinuating for a minute here. So we're getting a little bit closer to getting some confirmation. Mark Spears, who does very good work on the Four Letter Network. There are things I'm hearing that I'd rather probably not say on this podcast. ... My guess now is that he doesn't play the rest of the season. So yes, with John Morant, there's definitely some serious things going on there, right? Like, it's not just he's in a strip club dropping $50K in tips in a Denver private strip club, right? And even though he showed the blinky on IG Live, it's not necessarily about that. There's a lot of other things going on. Their statement that they released last week insinuated a lot about anxiety, stress, things of the like. There's a lot more to this John Morant stuff than just, again, player entitlement or player empowerment. There's something problematic going on there with Ja. So, and at first last week they were saying that the Grizzlies were announcing that they were going to give Ja 4 more games. And I said that's ridiculous, because if he truly does have a problem, whether it's substance abuse allegedly, whether it's stress, anxiety, mental health related, you cannot expect him at 23 years old to have that ironed out in a matter of games like that. That's just not going to happen. So we shall see how that goes with John Morant. But if you want to hear me go more in depth on that with the DCMD podcast, link for that is in the description. Had a whole episode about it. Video for that podcast will also be up tomorrow morning. So we'll go ahead and release that then. But yeah, got into the John Morant stuff. And yeah, I think I hope Ja doesn't come back, to be quite honest with you, because obviously, clearly there needs to be some reorganization within his framework, whether it's his family, friends, so on and so forth. There needs to be he can't be the middleman. That was the title of the episode. It's $200 million middleman. You can't have all your family and friends always calling you when they're in a jam and some physical intimidation is needed. And there's a lack of accountability on his part to always jump in and be there for his family. But again, I go more in depth on the DCMD podcast. Moving on. We have this here from LeBron on IG. It's that old, I don't know if this is a meme or I don't know who originally did this, but LeBron is on the verge of coming back. There was a lot of innuendo of LeBron's going to be out for the year. I had people close to me saying that LeBron will probably be back in time for the play-in, although it's looking like with the way things are going now, the Lakers are not going to be in the play-in. They might be a legitimate 5-6 seed by the time the playoffs come around. But LeBron puts this out on the gram. It gets people stirred up. It gets people going. It's provocative. And then we go and we have, I won't play this here because it might be subject to copyright, but LeBron back on the court taking free throws after shoot around in New Orleans. And you don't see the walking boot anymore. You don't see any of that stuff. We didn't see him run or jump, so we don't know if he has a gait or anything of that nature. But in regards to, it looks like he might not be out all the way to the end of the regular season. Although, if I was them, unless there's some real seeding involved, I would still be cautious not to rush him back out there, because if he goes out there and re-aggravates it, then you really got to just shut him down. And, as a Laker, he's been the most injury prone ever while a Laker. So I would not just assume someone of his age with the mileage on those legs that he could just snap back. I refuse that. I would refuse to believe that. But when you come here, there's someone here, Mo Bamba, over here on the left side here. He was thought to be out because he also had a really bad ankle sprain. And they said it would take 4 weeks to evaluate him. Now, I don't see him in a boot either. They both were in a boot. Now both are back in kicks and, at least moving around at shoot around. If they get Mo Bamba back with Braun back, KD to Phoenix is cute. Jokic and all them triple doubles and all the analytics stuff and maybe a third straight MVP is cute. But when Braun and AD are healthy, we know what happens. Bubble chip or not, that chip was a real thing. And they were close to getting another one if AD didn't fall down and go boom against Phoenix when they were up 2-1. So, I'm not going to bet against Braun and AD if they're even 85%. I still think that's enough to get it done to at least come out the West. I don't know about a whole chip. because I still believe, and I predicted this earlier in the year, I still think the NBA champion is coming out of the Eastern Conference. But if Bron and AD are them, I don't know. With the improvements they've made to that roster, Vanderbilt, D'Lo, Beasley, Mo Bamba, if he's healthy, just the getting rid of the addition by subtraction of getting rid of Russie, getting rid of Pat Bev, and Thomas Bryant has just opened up so much positivity. Austin Reeves is cooking. Like, it's just a open flow of positivity with the Lake Show. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. I appreciate the likes. Keep that coming. Helps that algorithm know that we're putting out good content over here. If you haven't subbed already, go ahead and tap in and sub. Doing daily live streams here. I'll pull information from the timeline and break it down in real time as things are happening. So if you like that type of content, feel free to tap in. Be active in the comments. I will respond. Even if you're catching this on a replay, I also do respond there. So there's one thing I will do is I will be in the comments. So because I appreciate the feedback. So whatever you guys want to do, I appreciate it. So drop a like, cool. Drop a sub, cool. So there we go with that. And let's see, I think we have one last one, and then we might wrap it up here. Or do we need to tap into the standings real quick? Let me see. Dame Lillard's been talking a lot. I don't know if we want to go there yet because it's information from another podcast, but so it might be some copyright stuff there. But okay, last night, anyone saw the clip that was going around about Steph Curry? And this will be the last story, and then we'll wrap up. The story, or the clip of, and again, won't play it because it's copyright, but Steph Curry telling the point fraud, Chris Paul, yes, he is the point fraud. If you're not familiar with my content, Chris Paul is a fraud of a point guard, hence point fraud. So Steph Curry told the point fraud, this ain't 2014. This ain't 2014 no more. Now, 2014 was 9 years ago. So, and there was a lot of, well, where is that coming from? Where is that stemming from? So we have the habitual nut hitter, Draymond Green, on his own podcast, because, content over everything. And Draymond Green details Steph Curry's trash talk towards Chris Paul last night. That's pretty much saying the last time you were better than me was 2014. Okay. So do we believe that? Do we need to get into the numbers to see if that's a real thing? Do we really need to get into the point fraud and Steph Curry? So let's get a couple of windows open. Yeah, we'll do this, and then we'll definitely get up out of here, because I think this to me is always funny because there's a clip of Paul Pierce roasting or attempting to roast Richard Jefferson, and then Richard Jefferson had to pull the receipts and show that, nah, dog, we blew you out all the time. Like, we beat you in the playoffs, we swept you. Like, we beat you in the regular season, postseason, it didn't matter. But to Paul Pierce, when he lays his head on the pillow, he thinks Richard Jefferson is sweet. He's easy work, even though there's no numbers to corroborate that Richard Jefferson was easy work. But it's just the ego of some athletes is always phenomenal to pay attention to. Okay, so we have Chris Paul here, a.k.a. the point fraud. So point fraud in 2014. Okay, now let's see, which year do you think Steph was talking about? Both years he was averaging 19 and 10. Let's just pick one of these years, right? Let's go. All right, let's go this year, right? And where it's compared to. Where's that tool? Come on. There we go. Steph Curry. I would love to do a specific year, but let's see if we'll get that. We should be able to get a specific year for that, right? All right, let me see if we can navigate this, because I would love to get a specific year. I guess I could just pull both years up. But 2014, we see that, right? So 2014, boom, we have this here. Let's pull up Steph. Let's get Steph. 2014, what we did, 14-15, right? 14-15, oh, we did 13-14. All right, we'll do 13-14. 13-14. Nope. Get off that. All right, so Steph was giving you 25, 9 assists, almost 2 steals, 4 boards, shooting 42% from three. Sometimes you just need to go by and just look at Steph's three-point percentage and just laugh. Like, league average is still 38%. Like, understand that league average is still now 38%. And that's with the influx of three-point shooting. Like, back in these times, it was like low 30s. He was shooting 10% better from three than the entire league. Just wild. Anyway, so 2014. 18 shots a game, 47% from the floor, 42% from three. I mean, why would Steph think that Chris Paul was better than him? Maybe his team was better. But statistically, Steph's never been a point guard. Like, even though these 8.5 assists are career high in assists, I still don't ever think of Steph Curry as a point guard. Like, that's just not how I view him. But when it comes to this other information, like, what else is, like, wait, was this the year when because remember, Steph cracked the point fraud that made him fall. He made him stumble. That was a huge viral moment, right? But then the point fraud came back, and I think either a year or two later, shimmied on Steph. He hit him with his own shimmy. Like, I don't think that was that year. Why did Steph think that he was worse than the point fraud in 2014? Because neither one of these years, even if we want to like really just nitpick the years, the 2 years combined, I mean, he's shooting 43% over those 2 years, 24 points, 8 assists. If we want to go Chris Paul, those same 2 years, 19 points, 10 assists, 39% from three, 48 from the floor. Like, I don't know where this is coming from. Like, clearly there's some sort of animosity and or beef there. And they're just two highly competitive people. It's just one is a fraud and one isn't. One of these two is a charlatan, is a person that will circumvent the CBA as the head of the players union, and the other one is Steph Curry. One of these two has gotten to plenty of teams and has been the answer for plenty of teams, has built super teams, and has failed them all. One of these players was able to take the Hornets to be a 2 seed, and they had to break it up, and every single member of that starting lineup went on to win championships except for the starting point guard. One of these players, let me not go crazy. One of these players was on the Houston Rockets, and they were up, 3-1? And the whole team went 0 for 20, 0 for 27? 0 for 21 at the crib that Rockets team went? 0 for 20 plus at the crib while the point fraud sat on the bench in street clothes. Everywhere he's gone, he's thought to be the answer. He was up 2-0 in the finals. And then the Nigerian freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, stole off on him for 4 straight to take him in 6. Why would Wardell, Stephen Curry, ever think that this fraudulent point guard was ever better than him? Now, the point fraud might have been stronger than him, so he might have been able to bully Steph. He might have been able to work the refs against Steph, use some of those vet tricks. I mean, he might be the only player that the point fraud has ever come across routinely that he hasn't punched in the nuts. Because we know the point fraud has a history of doing that. From Julius Hodge in college to Steven Adams to DeMarcus Cousins to whoever you want to name. He is known for being a dirty player. But, he's got Kevin Durant. And within 3 games of Kevin Durant, what happened? There's a common denominator in all these failures. And that common denominator is this guy. But, Hall of Famer, elite, immortal, point guard, as you see here, there's this fraudulent nickname, point guard. There's only that nickname is bestowed upon so many, when truly there's only a few who should ever be considered point guard. And I don't think the point fraud should ever be considered a point guard. Just because you tally a lot of assists doesn't mean that you're an elite high-level point guard. It just means you know how to cherry pick assist. If we can criticize Russell Westbrook for stat hunting and assist hunting, and Trae Young gets a lot of the same criticism, why are we not doing that with the point fraud? Because he does a two-man game and rim runs with Tyson Chandler, DeAndre Ayton, and those of that ilk, DeAndre Jordan, Clint Capella. It's okay. It's the same thing. Russie was doing the same plays with Steven Adams, but we said he was stat stuffing. Point fraud does it with DeAndre Jordan, Clint Capella, and now DeAndre Ayton, and he's a point guard. Make it make sense. Anywho, if there's anything else, y'all let me know. Let me come up the screen here. Just do one last check before we wrap this up. Let's see. If we want to get into some more basketball. Oh, Cowboys news. Ruh-roh. Let me see. Yeah, this appears to be official. Let me make sure. Let me double check. I don't want to get got putting up the wrong tweet. This is a legit Blue Check Boy account. Okay. Yep, there is news. See, this is why we have timeline tees. Tee straight from the timeline. The Indianapolis Colts are trading 5-time Pro Bowl cornerback Stephen Gilmore to the Dallas Cowboys. Compensation is Dallas sending a 5th-round pick. 5th round. To Indianapolis in exchange for Stephen Gilmore. That is, I'm going to say that's a good move for Dallas. He is still a top-tier corner. I've never quite understood the move to Indy. I mean, he got the bag, so I understand from that standpoint, right? But Stephen Gilmore in that Dallas, can he play zone? There's a lot of zone in Dallas. I don't know how I wouldn't want. They only give up a 5th-round pick for him, though. Okay, so we have this happening, and if you look at this from a Dallas perspective, let's go ahead and pull up the Dallas roster. Let's go. This is happening in real time. This is why we have Timeline T. Salute to Corey if he's out there watching. Not sure if he is or isn't, but he's the one that alerted me to another tweet in that thread that just so happened to lead to the Blue Check Boy Adam Schefter tweet about Stephen Gilmore. So let's see if we can get the Cowboys roster up here. Cowboys are in a state of flux. And with the Eagles are losing a lot of pieces. That window was very small for the Eagles, and they weren't able to capitalize and get a championship. And they're losing a lot of secondary help, specifically linebackers. And so basically their back seven has really taken a hit here early on in free agency. So now that we have the Dallas Cowboys here, on paper, that move sounds like a humongous upgrade. Now I'm trying to parse, is it a fit for the system? What does Gilmore have left? I mean, you put him in that defensive backfield with Diggs. Did they bring back Wilson? I'm not sure if they brought back Wilson or not. I know he was pending. Let's see if the Cowboys brought back Wilson. Because I actually do like Donovan Wilson. Let's see if they brought him back. Okay, yes, the Cowboys agreed to terms to re-sign. I'll put this up here on the screen. Cowboys have agreed to terms to re-sign Donovan Wilson to a 3-year deal worth up to $24 million, but the first 2 years fully guaranteed. Wow, a lot of fully guaranteed money. Some people are just able to get fully guaranteed money. Funny to your boy. But yes, so they did bring back Donovan Wilson. So if we're looking at this here, there's going to be a lot of names on this Dallas Cowboy defense. Let's look up Gilmore. I think trying to figure out what Gilmore still is, I think is more important here. At times, he's been, I mean, Defensive Player of the Year not that long ago, just 3 years ago. Look at the Patriots, man. Patriots always able to use up whatever you can and then get you up out the paint. Like Belichick, man, just I want to call him a leech, but if you look at it from a business perspective, as somehow fans always seem to do, it's a thing. But when it comes right down to Stephen Gilmore, what Stephen Gilmore has been able to do over the sake of his career is to be, I don't know if I'm going to call him a lockdown corner. He's certainly been a upper tier corner throughout the last 4 or 5 years, right? If you go from even when he was in Buffalo, when he peaked in Buffalo, he was entering top tier conversation. And I think those years with the Patriots were probably his peak years. Now we're looking at him on what looks to be the back half. It's going to be 33 heading into next year. You're looking at this for a 5th round pick. I think this is a really good deal for the Cowboys, just on paper. Fit, scheme, system, how he'll be used, that's all to be figured out down the line. But as of right now, on paper, I think bringing him in really makes sense. I like this move for Dallas. I am always in favor of physical corners and corners that can press you at the line, even though that's the lost art because of the rule changes and the way that offense is being prioritized in the NFL, specifically for receivers. I still think there is something to have a guy who is able, in this day and age, it's the hardest thing to do in this NFL. Playing corner and being good at corner is arguably the hardest thing to do in this sport. It's not being a quarterback. It's not any of that stuff. It's, can you cover someone when you're not allowed to touch him? Any type of interference will be called on you. Any type of tug, any type of whatever is going to be holding. Like, it is so nitpicky to be a corner in this NFL, in today's NFL, that if you can get that off and you can be that guy and be Defensive Player of the Year as a corner, yeah, that means something. Now, that was 4 seasons ago. But still, as of right now, is he CB1? Is he CB1 in Dallas? That is an interesting pickup. I like that pickup. I'm normally not a fan of a lot of the stuff Dallas does because I think a lot of the times they just rest on their laurels. Okay, James Bradbury's returning to the Eagles. Okay, a lot of tea. Let's get to it. Eagles bring back James Bradbury, returning to the Eagles in a 3-year deal worth $38 million, including $20 million fully guaranteed and another $6 million in incentives per sources. Total package, $44 million. So a little bit over half the money is guaranteed and another $6 million in incentives. I could make a statement about fully guaranteed money in other positions, but I don't want to beat a dead horse on that. But in regards to the Eagles, we just talked about how the Eagles were losing a lot of players from their defense, and it looked to be like that window might be closing in terms of them trying to maximize on all those free agents that they've been amassing over the last couple of seasons. But they bring back one of their own in James Bradbury. He will look to overcome the whole fiasco in the past Super Bowl, which it was holding. Let's be clear. That same whip route was killing him and the whole Eagles secondary all game. And Eric Bieniemy kept running it again and again and again. Reverse it, flip it, sub different packages in on that same whip route. But we're going to whip route you to death and get a Lombardi off of it. And that's what happened. So James Bradbury back to the Eagles, 3 years, $38 million, including $20 million fully guaranteed and another $6 million in incentives. Total package being $44 million. All right, let's see what else we can have here. This is all happening. This is why I wanted to do this stream, because there's a lot of stuff going on. Commanders released J.D. McKissick, for those who care about that. Let's see. Let's do one last spin. Jeff Wilson's re-signing with the Dolphins. So they bring back Mostert and Jeff Wilson. So no change in running back. Derrick Henry, is he going to get traded? Who's a Derrick Henry away from a Lombardi? Let me know in the comments. Who is a Derrick Henry away from a Lombardi? Allegedly, the Titans are open for business on Derrick Henry. I think that's a really interesting play. Whoever can get that off, whoever can be able to flip and get a back that's, as backs are on the downhill of their career, younger and younger, because they get used up and spit out. As we see Austin Eckler, who is out here, seeking a trade because he wants one last contract, and he's not even 30. As we see Ezekiel Elliott, who the abs ain't washboard no more, and he's trying to get one last deal if anyone's even going to take that, that jump out the window and try to help him with that. All these running backs are thought to be done, washed, or on the back half of their prime, and then there's Derrick Henry. So let's see. To recap, we have the Jets signing Allen Lazard, Cowboys trade for Stephon Gilmore, Giants trade for Darren Waller, Broncos, if you haven't noticed or if you didn't know, Samaje Perine was at the Bengals, right? Was at the Bengals. Eagles also signed Rashard Penny. Does that mean Miles Sanders is out? Interesting there. Let's see. Anything else here we could pull up before we wrap up? Thank you for those who are tapping in on the stream. Hit that like button if you will. Appreciate it. That would be tremendous towards helping the algorithm. Eagles are also bringing back Boston Scott, for those who care about that. Brought Boston Scott. So now they're bringing back Boston Scott. They went and got Penny from Seattle. That kind of has to mean Miles Sanders is not coming back, right? So there's some tea here. I won't pull up the tweet because I don't know if this is a trusted source, but this is a person who has a lot of tweets that go viral in terms of just throwing stuff out there. Allegedly, Jamal Williams is someone that Aaron Rodgers has favor for. I'll let y'all digest that in whatever way you want, but But if you're the Colts and get that Gilmore move, right? Are they breaking this down? Like, because we know coming up in the draft, they have let's see what we have here. Let's see if we can pull this up here. And Anthony Richardson in this latest mock draft, and again, nobody's mock draft is perfect. This is not meant to be. This is my mock draft, but this is just a sample mock draft of just what people in the know allegedly are feeling as we get closer and closer to draft day. But if they're going to take Anthony Richardson at 4, who reminds a lot of people of Cam Newton and Justin Fields, what are you going to do with the rest of that offense? Jonathan Taylor as your running back. They still got Pittman. Like, there's a lot of uncertainty with the Colts. That defense is not. I mean, it looks like Leonard is coming back off of injury, so you have to at least be mindful of that if you're a Colts fan. But in terms of what else is there, I don't know what you do here at 4. They clearly need a quarterback. Hard stop, right? But if it goes this way in some sort of combination, and I still think, Arizona could be in play in terms of either someone trading up for a QB, or maybe you take someone and light a fire underneath Kyler Murray as more and more players are coming out and airing out Kyler Murray and what he may or may not be doing to better himself as a player. Specifically as someone who just got $160 million guaranteed. Or is it 189.5 guaranteed in that extension that had the Call of Duty clause that was then rescinded, allegedly. So the Colts at 4. What are we looking for at 4? If they're making moves in terms of shedding players, big salary players on defense, It's going to put a lot of pressure on the offense. Are you really just going to hand the keys to Anthony Richardson, who, again, did not have a first-round grade coming into last season at Florida? Did not. He was projected to be a project. And even at the end of the regular season, he was still projected to be a project quarterback. And then he showed up at the combine and showed out. And now all of a sudden, he's the 4th pick in the draft. So it's just, I mean, I guess they had to see it in person. I guess they had to see him do it in person for them to realize what he projects to be. So I don't know what the Colts are doing. But I think there's something to be thought of there in regards to expectation and what is the likelihood of them fielding a team that's worth this while. I mean, that Cowboys thing. Samaje Perine to the Broncos. Is that something where Russell Wilson thought he was getting his preferred coach in Sean Payton, and he wanted him in Seattle? Didn't work out that way. He tried to get Pete Carroll and I forget the GM's name on top of my head right now, but he tried to clean house and get Sean Payton in there to help him fix whatever was going on with him in Seattle. Didn't happen. Now he's in Denver and he's finally able to get Sean Payton to pull up. But all the moves that the Broncos have made so far don't let me know or don't incur to me that that's a team that's going to build around Russell Wilson. That is not something I see. From all the moves that they have made so far, it doesn't appear to be a thing. So was that just smoke? There's a lot of things to be wary of right now. There's a lot of innuendo. There's a lot of things. And when speaking about the Cardinals, and it was Kevin Beachum. And Kevin Beachum gets re-signed for a 2-year deal. So the guy that just aired out Kyle Murray and said, this guy needs to be a professional and needs to grow up, is the same guy that the Arizona Cardinals just decided to re-sign and bring back. How's that going to be in the locker room? How's that going to work? This man just called me out. I'm rehabbing, coming off of a tear, supposed to be done. And now I have one of my own linemen. Yeah. Josh Jacobs, if you missed it earlier, Josh Jacobs, shit sad for real. And shit sad for real because Darren Waller got traded today for a 3rd-round pick to the New York Giants. Derek Carr leaves. They bring in Jimmy G, downgrade there. And now it's just Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs, who couldn't even get his money. He had to go get franchise tagged. So, yeah, it's looking sad for the Raiders. They're a poverty franchise. They don't have the money in escrow to even entertain the thought of Lamar Jackson. So it's a lot there. All right. I think we might be done here. I don't see anything else here on the timeline. Everything seems to be settling down, but at least we got those last couple of moves in where the Cowboys make a trade for Stephen Gilmore, 5th-round pick, conditional. And also we have the Eagles bringing back James Bradbury in addition to Boston Scott. So a couple of free agent news and notes on your way out the door. But I appreciate y'all for pulling up. If you haven't already, hit that like button. I would appreciate it, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. My name is The Same D. You see that there in the upper corner with the name bug. I'm able to do all of this through the power of Ecamm Live. If you want to get familiar with Ecamm Live, there's a free trial in the podcast, in the YouTube description. And this is a stream where I go over the timeline. From 4 to usually 5. So you see what time it is right now. We've gone to this, the longest timeline T by far. But this stream is all about putting together the most information that we can, the latest sports news, rumors, aka T, that we could find on the timeline and put it all together on one stream. If you missed it earlier, we had Lamar Jackson replying that reports of him turning down a $200 million deal back in September. If you can't understand what the GIF is, it's cap. Okay? So that's what we have. Lamar Jackson calls that cap. If you missed that earlier, you can catch the replay. Go ahead and do that because we got into it pretty well here. Not only did he say that it was cap, he had more things to say. People throw shit at the wall and hope it sticks. So Lamar was in his bag today. Lamar had time today. And if you're not aware and if you're not familiar, for those who are unfamiliar with the talk of Lamar and whether or not he has an agent or representation, look right there. I'll move myself out the way for you. Again, be able to do this because of Ecamm Live. Business inquiries, Lamar Jackson Enterprises. It's right there. So, yeah, he does have representation. Maybe not an agent, but he has representation. So he's not just doing this blindly. It's not him and his mom sitting down with the Ravens owner trying to get this contract done. But, narratives will narrative. Let's see what else we have before we wrap it up. Also, Kirk Cousins restructuring his contract. It's a restructure, right? So it's not taking back money or converting any money in the sense of, making money that's guaranteed, not be guaranteed. They're converting his $20 million roster bonus into a signing bonus. The money's still the same. So again, the first QB in NFL history to get fully guaranteed money. The Vikings are finding ways to move that money around to make it work for their salary cap. Baltimore, you can do it too. Anyway, I am the Sam D. If you've missed any of the earlier parts, feel free to rewind, or if you want to catch the replay in its entirety, it will be under the live tab of this YouTube channel. So for me, the Sam D, aka Santos May Jr., I appreciate those who have pulled up, and I'll be back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern for more Timeline T. Peace.